Welcome.
We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
This is your number one podcast for ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties. Bringing you everything you need to know about things that go bump in the night and interviewing the personalities behind them. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Now, here are your hosts, your ghost hosts, Scott and Julie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's good to have you back for another week. Hi, Julie. How are you?
I'm good, Scott. Like everybody, fighting the pollen that's going around these days. So excuse us if we cough.
Honestly, I mean, last week on the show, I was coughing, and I don't have COVID. I'm not sick, but it's this pollen. It drives me crazy.
It's awful. Tree pollen here in New England is super high the last couple of days. So
yeah,
you know.
it's been rough for sure.
Yeah.
So last year, I don't even remember when it was, but I appeared on a podcast called Small Town Tales, and they had invited me on, which was really great. And I've gotten to know the woman who's the host of this show, and she and I have remained in touch, and I invited her on our show. So tonight I'm really glad to be able to return the favor. But Crystal, also known as CL, so she goes by CL, and she is an author. And she has written one book that's published now. It's called Speaking to Shadows. And she has another one coming out in the fall, Dancing with Demons. And we can talk about that tonight. She also is quite artistic. She's a paranormal investigator. So we're going to have a lot in common and a lot to talk about tonight. So welcome to the show, Crystal C.L. Thomas. How are you?
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
Hi, great
pleasure.
to see you.
Nice to see you, too. So you're sitting on a street in Romania.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a little ghost that pops up.
And if you move over to your left a little bit, we have a full body apparition behind Crystal tonight.
Was that your first time overseas when you went to Romania?
It was, yes.
How was it? Did you do any investigating while you were there, or was it primarily more sightseeing?
So I went with Maria's, is it called Mysterious Tours, I believe?
Yes.
So it was a smaller group, maybe 15 people. We went over there with James Anito was the main host. And we had the most excellent tour guide ever. His name was Vlad, of all things.
Oh, wow. You can't go wrong with a Vlad in Romania.
Exactly. So we went to all of the hot spots of where Vlad Dracula lived and kind of followed his story throughout his life, where he was born, some of the battles, where he lived, that kind of thing. And we investigated at nighttime a lot in some of these castles.
Wow.
One of the castles in particular that really stands out is Corvin Castle. We went there sometime in the afternoon. We spent the day kind of touring, and then we did an investigation at night. And I tell you what, the voices we got from this place is incredible.
Wow. That is amazing. Wow.
That's really good that you got a chance to investigate these places, in the evening. And I mean, ghosts come out all hours of the day and night, but
yeah,
we know that. But that's really great. I would think a place like that would be quite active.
It was very active. And, I'm really interested in EVPs, and my theory has always been language barriers. You know how you go into some of these haunted places and you don't pick up anything at all.
Yeah.
So I actually got to test that in his place, and I had a translator with me. And so he was able to ask the questions both in German, Romanian, and Bulgarian. And it's interesting because Vlad spoke Bulgarian, and that's all the questions that all the EVPs are in Bulgarian. And some of the later ones are in Romanian. We didn't get any answers in English, what kind of verified my theory a little bit. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We actually were on an investigation over the weekend at a home where the original owners had owned it for 40-something years. Both had passed away, but they spoke both German and French, and we were getting EVPs in German.
German. Kind of amazing. And do you remember, Julie? I don't know if I'll have to show you, Crystal, because I have this recording. But we were at a place it was an historical museum, but it was an old mansion. There had been a woman that lived there many years ago. And we were in a room, and they call it the military room. There's all sorts of military memorabilia going back to whenever.
Different
we were in
wars,
the
World War II, World
Yeah,
War
well, we were in the World War II section, and we're doing EVPs, and all of a sudden we're getting Japanese. I mean, it was incredibly clear,
Amazing.
unbelievably crystal clear. And
Yeah.
we sent it to someone, and I don't remember what it translated to be honest, but they
I
verified.
don't either, but it was definitely Japanese. We were standing in front of a case that had a Japanese sword because in the day, excuse me, the pollen, in the day, the commander, when he surrendered, gave up his sword, and it was brought back and it was donated to the museum. So basically, we did get a full sentence in Japanese. And like Scott said, unfortunately, I just don't remember what the translation was. But
That
it was
is really
crazy.
cool.
Yeah.
Really
yeah.
crazy.
It's
And
really
do you remember, speaking of crazy EVPs, right? Because we've got these crazy EVPs. We had gone to another mansion in Massachusetts. Now, the story is that who is it? Is it Billy Graham or Oral Roberts? One of them used to stay there. I think it was Billy
I
Graham.
think it was Billy Graham.
Billy Graham. And we were in Billy Graham's bedroom,
it's
The room
haunted.
that he would use. Yes. The room that
Billy
he would.
Graham is haunting places.
Well, I
Well,
don't know. I don't know. But
Hmm.
we turned on the spirit box and got scripture.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
So I'm thinking at that point, honestly, I think it was definitely residual.
Yeah.
We were in the bedroom where whenever he visited, and he visited there a lot, he was a frequent visitor. He would stay in that particular bedroom. There was a desk with a Bible in it, which is said to have been the Bible that he would read while he was there. So it was definitely scripture. I think that we were picking up some residual stuff.
That
Right.
is so interesting.
I just find it fascinating, really, to think that it's like this record player going around and around. It's fascinating to me. I mean, we do this and we still don't understand
Stone
what
tape
it is and
theory.
how we get this stuff.
Exactly.
Well, it's a good way if you go to a place that has layer after layer of history to it. It's a good way to, if it is an active haunting, to decipher the time period that you're dealing with.
Right.
Like New Orleans, for instance, they had French, and then they had Creole French, and now it's predominantly English, right?
Mhm.
So if you're getting old French, you're picking up something from like the 17th century versus, you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of time it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Now you do some investigating too. You've been out to ghost towns and stuff out, west. And how does that relate? I mean, what have you found out in those kind of places?
So interestingly, I've done ghost hunting all over the country now.
Mhm.
So I went to Salem, had a lot of evidence from Salem, and in parts of Boston, but those were more, how to say it, not so much negative energy. They're just kind of there.
Mhm.
In the deep South, I've gotten a lot of negative hauntings, a lot of negative EVPs, just different. It's different there. And I
Really?
think I attribute it to all the atrocities that may have happened in places, in the deep South where you had slavery and just different things that happen.
Right.
Now that I'm in the Southwest and I'm going to all of these remote ghost towns that people don't really travel to, it's a whole different ballgame. I used to think that the South had the meanest hauntings, I would call it, but that's not true. I'm finding that the Southwest is a lot worse for
Really?
whatever reason. Yeah.
What
Well, if you
makes
think
them
about it,
meaner?
those towns had, if they had a sheriff, the sheriff was the law. If you were lucky, if you had a kind person who was doing that, and it was really, the old Darwin theory, the fittest only survived, the
Right.
best shot only survived.
So
Yeah.
one of the places I've been to, just to give you a little bit of an idea, is called Delamar. And it's a little wagon road to get up to it. A dirt road. It's about 40 miles long. And once you hit the mountain, you have to get out of your car and hike the rest of the way because it's non-passable anymore. This town is so remote. even back then when people were trying to get to it, they didn't have electricity, they didn't have running water, everything had to be muled in with a mule train. People were hiding there from like the Confederate War, what they would call deflectors. That's where they were hiding out. You had a lot of outlaws hanging out there because if, the law's not going to go up there to get them.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
So that's the kind of town that's the kind of people this town was harboring at that time. And then you think about all the people who were there, the quick rich, rich quick crowd. They're just out to make a quick buck at everyone else's expense.
Right. Right. What would you say makes them meaner out there? I mean, what have you experienced, I guess, that would make you feel like it was mean?
Yeah, I kind of diverged there, didn't I? So I took my friend out because he didn't believe me that this town was haunted. I kept getting, the first time I went out there, I stayed the night, and right away I got like get out over and over, just a lot of mean things. A lot of like, one of them said they would kill me on an EVP, just different stuff. So I came back, told a friend about it. He went up there with me. And he said about in the middle of the night, he wanted to leave. He said he's never coming back again.
Yeah.
It is true. So he claims that his house was haunted by this. So he heard the sound of a horse for a couple of nights here in Vegas, which there's no horses here. And then he got scratched.
Really?
Yeah, and he attributed it to something that followed him from this town. So I went back, maybe a couple weeks later, and did it again. And I caught EVPs that are growling at me. One of them said that they're not human. It's just different, just a different feel.
Wow.
Do you feel like it wasn't human, or do you think it was just playing with you?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. There's a lot of them. It's not just one spirit. So it's very possible.
Right. Sometimes you have, just evil human people that perform evil deeds. And one time Scott and I were talking about this with a couple of other people. And I think my question was, does a place where evil deeds have been committed for such a long time attract evil? And does it attract evil people? And so possibly that's what was going on, is that what was taking place over how many years attracted something evil to that place.
It's possible. But then with that theory,
residual evil too. I mean, you know what I mean? The energy that's coming off of it that was evil.
But for something to say that it was going to kill her, though, I mean, it sounds like that was intelligent.
Right.
Which I'm sure there's all, like you say, layers of residual, layers of, So, I wonder sometimes, people talk about curses, and I just wonder, do we in the evil acts commit as human beings, are we actually cursing the land ourselves? Something like a blood curse or whatever, places where there have been horrendous battles and horrible numbers of lives have been lost. Have we cursed that land because of what we as humans have committed there, the atrocities we've committed?
I think anytime you exert that kind of emotion and energy into a place, it's very possible, because believe it or not, a church is also one of the most haunted places I've ever been in. Is the Baptist church in the middle of Tennessee, out in the middle of nowhere. And you think, well, why is the church haunted, right? You think about all the emotions that people brought to that place.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there's something to it.
It doesn't have to be bad. I mean, haunting is just there are spirits there. So definitely that I could completely understand that.
Yeah, it's interesting, I think. And, you and I have talked about, you have some psychic ability, mediumistic ability that you're kind of working and harnessing, but do you pick up on anything when you go to these places?
I do. And it's more so human than it is negative entities, if that makes sense.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I was wondering if you could tell the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Julie can tell the difference. She knows right away when she goes in. I don't know that I'd been around anything like that, so I don't know
Mhm.
I guess you don't know till you find out. You know what I mean? Till
Well,
you know.
yeah. But I think you probably honestly think that you would. I've been a psychic empath my entire life. I can walk into a space and I can tell you if it's a human or a non-human. I can also tell you if it is a spirit of the earth or if it is a demon. I don't mess with that stuff. I don't mess with demons. I'm not at all schooled in it, and I don't, as I say, that's way above my pay grade. It's just not something that I would mess with. However, sometimes you're in a situation because they do try to trick you,
Mhm.
and
True.
that the child's voice, the help me, the little girl.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, for me, that's a dead giveaway. On if it's a little girl or a child that needs help, what can I do for you? Is basically it.
Well, and especially where it is. I mean, we were getting that in the haunted Shanley Hotel. Why is there a little boy or a little girl up on the third floor in the attic? You know what I mean? It just doesn't. Why would that be? You know what I mean? So you wonder.
Right, exactly.
Let's see. Bob is asking, have any of us ever encountered a Native American spirit?
Yes,
You-
actually.
Um,
Yep.
oh,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I have, but please go ahead.
Oh no, I don't want to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Well, we have the Bridgewater Triangle here in Massachusetts, and it's incredibly active with spirit. And I've investigated down there twice, and both times I have encountered Native American spirit there. Yeah.
Raven.
Hi, Raven. Raven and I are really good friends.
Yeah, you traveled together, right?
Yes,
She
she
was
went
in
to Romania with me.
Nice. Yeah.
So to answer Bob's question, I went on an investigation. I had this case in California, and this lady lives on this farm that looks like it's straight out of the 1930s, like one of those grapes of wrath kind of farms. And she's growing almonds, and she has probably acres and acres of just almond trees all over the property. It's really cool. Her house has human hauntings in it, but then the land itself, it's definitely, there's little elementals running around this land. You can see them out of the corner of your eye. And it's a dead giveaway because you can't connect with them like you can with a human spirit. That's how I can tell that it's not human, whatever it is. But I did a little bit of research, and I had to actually contact some Native American shamans to help with this case because it was something totally out of my realm. And it turns out that they think that this land, when they leveled it and everything to make it into farmland back in the 30s, that it was Native American land. They kind of shoved everybody off this land. And they think that the Native Americans who owned it called up these spirits that were, to kind of curse that land somehow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you feel differently, Julie, between an elemental and a something that's another non-human that's more evil? Do you?
Absolutely.
I know you can tell the difference. So
A demon will physically attack. A demon will attack your spine, and then it will attempt to go through the rest of your body. But the first attack will be on your spine, which is where your central nervous system is. And then most people that are sensitives wind up getting incredibly sick. In their stomach, especially. And I've talked to quite a few sensitives that have been in the presence of non-human entity. And we've all said the same thing, which is basically, I don't want to be gross, but I spent hours in the bathroom.
Right.
It makes you very, very sick.
Well, you don't get that from the elemental, though.
No, absolutely not.
That's what I mean. They're not the same.
A whole different feeling, it, like Crystal said, it's not human. It's something very, very different. It's a very different feeling. It's almost as though I find that elementals, unless they've been put there for a purpose, like if they've been placed there as a curse on the land, otherwise elementals are kind of there, and they're not good and they're not bad. They're just sort of there doing what they do, and it's a problem if you intervene in what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's interesting about the case in California too. There's a barrier there. It's like they can't cross into the house to interfere with anything in the house.
Hmm.
Oh,
In
that's
California?
interesting.
Mhm.
That's very
Yeah.
I
interesting.
wonder why. Do you know anything about that? Why that's
I don't. I do. That case is it's a very strange case. She's been through several husbands now. There's a lot of death that surrounds her through illnesses and things like that. She's lost several children. So, and she attributes it, I'm sorry, my cat. She attributes it to the hauntings. But, the longer I've studied this stuff and investigate, the more I'm finding that you also draw a certain energy to you after a while,
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of that going on as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. I mean, there is a point where we need to take responsibility for our own decisions.
Right.
I think as paranormal investigators, I know that I've been doing this for 15 years. And I know that, we try to, before we go into anyone's home, we do our due diligence. We try to make sure there isn't anything like mental illness or something like that going on first, just to keep ourselves safe. And we can't help somebody if that's what's happening. But I found that honestly, 80% of the time, the people that we vet before we go there, they've just made extremely poor decisions in their lives. And then the next decision is, well, it can't be me. I must be cursed, or I have an attachment. I have a demon
Right.
attached to me. And that's kind of sad. It really is kind of sad.
Yeah. It's something I come across a lot too, unfortunately, through social email. A lot of people will reach out and say that they have a demonic entity or a negative attachment of some sort. And, they attribute everything to something outside themselves. But, law of attraction, when you look into these people's lives, you find that they have like a lot of atrocities and they're always involved in some kind of deep drama.
Yeah.
They have addictions, things like that, So
Absolutely.
you're going to bring in what you put out.
Well, and some people thrive on this stuff. They see these TV shows where they think it's a game, and then next thing you know, they're over their head. You can get into some really crazy stuff. I mean, well, look at that email I got the other day, Julie. I got the craziest. I get crazy emails. I swear to God, they see psychic medium. Oh, okay. And this guy, I don't even think he was from this country. I don't know where he was from. Didn't it sound like he was from Africa or something? Like some other country, because the English wasn't very good, but talking about demons and sorcery, and I'm like, dude,
And the quotes were,
yeah,
when Scott sent it to us, it was, I was reading it and I said to him, he's talking about you. And he said, no, I said, no. He's using thee all the time. Thee this and thee that. And thee is the unfamiliar for you. So yeah, you just get them all the time. It's kind of sad.
well, clearly he's very unfamiliar with me, because
Yeah,
he
it must
that he's like totally barking up the wrong tree.
It is, or it's just how they interpret things because of what may be going on in their lives.
Yeah. We might make a good guest for the podcast someday. Maybe we can book him for September or something.
I think I may be sick that day.
Yeah, you might be sick that day. I think you'd be starting to feel it in your spine if you.
Yeah, I think that would be it. Exactly. Thou is on thy own.
The week Jolie ends up in a wheelchair.
Seriously, exactly.
I don't even want him having any connection to me whatsoever.
Oh my gosh.
How's the podcast going?
Small Town Tales?
Yeah.
It's going okay.
Did you rerun me last week or the week before or something? I think I happened to catch it or something, or either there was another post about it or something.
No, so I just started a YouTube channel to put everything on there.
Okay.
Long story short, so I go on these random adventures all the time, and one of my friends convinced me that I need to start a YouTube channel about it.
Oh, cool.
How many people do you know travel to a ghost town and hike into these remote
You have
places?
a lion over there somewhere?
What's that?
Is there a lion behind you or something?
My dog.
Oh,
Sorry.
I thought it was. I said that cat has the loudest meow I've ever heard in my life.
She doesn't like the neighbor's dog for whatever
Oh my
reason,
God.
and every time that dog is out, she's
Oh my God, that's funny.
crazy.
Anyway, sorry about that. So you've got the YouTube channel going now.
Yes, I put everything up on YouTube.
Oh, nice. I thought I had seen it somewhere. How can they find? So the name of it is what? Small Town Tales is the YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, it's Small Town Tales. No, the YouTube channel, I think it's CL Thomas.
Okay, CL Thomas.
Yeah, and my website is to clthomas.org. You can find the Small Town
clthomas.org.
Tales on there. And also, if you just go to any platform, it's on there, like Apple, it's on Google Podcast, it's on
Everywhere, just like
Spotify.
all of them. Yeah, I just put your website across the bottom of the screen. So clthomas.org, and they can find out about your podcast and also your books, because you have books too, and I want to talk about those. The podcast, though, your podcast is a little different, and you and I have talked about this. I like it. You don't go for the big names. You go for these really interesting, and I like that because some of the guests you have are quite interesting.
Yeah, I try to. My theory is, and you know what, I love all the shows that are out there and everybody that's in them, but I feel like the big names, we've heard their story many times, right? You hear it on TV, you hear it on radio, they're just everywhere. So I want to give a platform to the smaller people and hear different stories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's called Small Town as well. I'm trying to
Makes
get
sense.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because these people don't have their stories told, and there's a lot of people that have some really interesting stories.
There's a lot
of interesting stuff that people never see. And I was thinking about this before we went on the air. Julie told me that our friend Barbara, who's sort of the photographer in our group, she took this incredible photo that people have been just amazed with for, well, I don't know when we took that, last summer maybe, I don't remember when that was, but people are amazed with it. And people don't get to see that kind of stuff, so it's nice to put these things out on these smaller shows like this. And I was thinking, Julie, you have it, but I don't, so there's no way to get it up on this show. I don't think. We'll have to do it another day, right?
Oh, okay. We'll have to do it another day. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how we could do it.
About it. And at that point, I didn't want to put it up because Barbara had not put any kind of stamp,
Yes.
or anything on it. And it's really gone across the web, and people have asked if they can use it. So I didn't want anything to happen to it, but now she does. She has her imprint on it, so we can use it, and I'll send it to you. She sent me a copy of it, so I'll send it to you with her imprint.
Well, you know what? Text it to me if you want. I can do it that way. If
Okay,
you have it on your phone or whatever, you could just text it to me, and then I can put it on the screen.
Okay, my phone is in the bedroom.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
One time I don't have it here. I'm sitting in my dining room, and I was on the phone most of the day, and I said, oh my gosh, I'm down to like 20%. I need to go. I will go and I'll charge this while I'm doing the podcast.
Well, maybe your ghost friend in there will send it to us. Any more
Not
happenings
yet.
this week?
No. Crystal, this is just the most bizarre thing. And it was probably about 3 months ago. I woke up middle of the night, padded across the bedroom to go into the bathroom, sitting in the bathroom, and I hear this noise. And it was almost like a very light whooshing mechanical noise. Now, this has to be December. And I'm thinking, that sounds so close. This is strange. Now, you need to realize I live in Peabody, which is just outside of Salem. I live in a condo complex, and there are 14 buildings. We're not on the street at all, so there aren't any cars or anything going by. So I come out of the bathroom, and my ceiling fan was on, not just on, but on the highest setting, which means that something had to click the remote control 4 times. And it was whooshing like crazy. Now, I know some people put their ceiling fans on to push the heat down. I don't do that. I had not touched the ceiling fan or the remote control since September, when I like to use the ceiling fan to move the air conditioning around. So I thought, well, this is really strange, because you have to hit that turn it on, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 to get it up to the highest setting. So if somebody was using a fan and perhaps on the same, it might come on once, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I just sort of filed it back in the bottom, in my mind. I turned it off and I said, is that if anybody's here trying to make contact, turn the fan on again. Nothing happened. And then, was it last week, Scott?
Yeah, it went on again.
Last week, I left. I came home. I left to go to bring some stuff down to the recycling bin. Came upstairs, walked down the hall, walked into my bedroom, and the ceiling fan was on. And I just said, oh, yeah. So I turned it off. And then I took out my phone and I did a little video, and I didn't really, we couldn't get anything. There was something very low, a voice very low, but it's very hard to say because, again, I live in a condo building and it was the middle of the day. So I really can't say what it was. Hasn't happened yet, but, I asked it after that twice. I waited another hour, went in and tried it again, saying, if you have my attention, what is it that you would like? Turn the ceiling fan on. And I recorded it, sent it to everyone to see if they could see anything. And nothing happened. We couldn't hear anything. So
I think they're trying to tell you it's a little hot in that bedroom. That's my impression.
Scott, I'm a widow. It hasn't been hot in my bedroom for many years. Let me tell you.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, but so you do it. I know we got off track a little bit, but the podcast you do,
as we tend to do.
We tend to do that right off the rails. But the podcast, do you do it? Is it monthly or bi-monthly or how often?
It's monthly. It's monthly, and it's always a pre-record. For a while there, I just didn't have a lot of time, so I never did lives.
Yeah,
I thought about doing
kind of set to a particular day, and
it's just easier to pre-record and then put it out. It's not as strenuous.
We were doing that when we were live only in the United Kingdom. So we used to be Monday in the United Kingdom, and it was just really difficult to get people. I think we were doing it at noontime on Monday. Well, who can do anything at a noontime on a Monday? It worked well with the schedule in the UK, but it didn't work for us here. So we started recording, and that went well, except then it became a full-time job because you had to take the video, and then I had to add in all the pieces, and then I had to, you know what I mean? It was just too much. And then thank you for Bill over at KGRA, who said, hey, I'd really love you to, to come over to KGRA. I'd been on Andrea Perrin's show. We met her in Scotland, and she had me on her show, World Awakening, which is also on KGRA. And she invited us, or actually Bill was producing that night, and he invited us into KGRA. That's been a godsend because it has freed up so much time during the week. It's been crazy. And now we just know it's Wednesday night. It's 7:00 Eastern. I walk home, and that's the end of it. And I don't have to do any of this editing or anything like that. And before it was like, oh, well, we can do this Monday at this time. Then we get another one Thursday night or, or whatever it is. And a couple of times I'm like, oh my God, I have a show. I gotta get moving. I don't do it from my bedroom. I have to come in to work and, get the studio all set up and the cameras and everything else. So
yeah,
we love
it. It's very hard to start a podcast, I think, in today's world because everyone and their mom has one.
Yeah.
They're like mushrooms. There's new ones every single day that pop up.
Right, exactly.
And we were lucky. I mean, we've been on about a year, just about a year right now. About a year. And, we didn't think we were going to get anybody for a guest. We thought, well, let's see how long this lasts. It's like Fox and Friends. It'd be like Julie and Friends, just our friends, and that's it. And then things started to happen. And I think, when you can get involved with a larger audience, such as this, such as KGRA or even Pulse Talk in the United Kingdom, Carl has been so good to us, to be involved in that kind of thing. You develop a little bit more of a following, and then people are able to, take you seriously, for lack of a better word. We were getting at one time, and I don't know what the latest numbers are, but we were getting almost 50,000 live listeners a week. between
Wow.
here and the UK. Not just tonight now, but then again on Monday. So between the two continents, we were getting almost 50,000 live listeners. And
I have no idea why. I mean, seriously, come
they
on.
heard about what's going on in the bedroom, and they're like, I got to check on this.
I
Yeah, they're
don't
more
know.
interested in Julie's
In my
bedroom.
I think
fan,
they
what's
are.
going on?
I
Seriously.
think they are. No, I don't know either. We have a good time,
We have fun. And, Crystal, like you, we also, we've had people that are names like, John Zaffis and Jeff Ballinger and
Yeah.
Dustin Perry. Oh, excuse me. I just dropped some names. Let me just pick those up. But, but we also have people that are local people and they're doing some great work. Authors that are up and coming. The folks, Danny and Anthony, we had on from Ansonia Opera House in Connecticut, and they're doing some incredible work down there and restoring this opera house and opening it up for paranormal investigators. And they were kind enough to, I met them at Salem Paracon, and they were Eastern photography. They had some amazing photographs that our friend Cindy was looking at, and Cindy introduced me to them at their table. And we started chatting, and they started talking about the opera house and how they're attempting to restore it. And they invited us down to do an investigation. We were down there last month, and it was off the charts. There was some really great stuff.
And it was a great show. I mean, I felt like, we presented something totally different, with some of the evidence and things like that.
Right.
So.
And I think that's key too, is to come up with something a little different that's not already being done out there. I think it's a big part of it.
Absolutely. And like you say, there are a lot of local people doing some incredible work really here. And we have a lot of really old buildings here that people are trying to save because the craftsmanship in these buildings, you just don't see it any longer. And once these buildings are gone, that's it. It's lost completely. So they've been finding that in order to raise money, they're letting paranormal investigators come in and investigate, and they're letting us, pay them to come in for 5 or 6 hours, and the money goes right into the restoration. So it's a great collaboration between paranormal investigators, and most of us are very interested in the history of places anyway. And then the historians and the architectural historians all working together.
That's interesting.
Do you do photography, Crystal?
I do. Yes, that's how I started. I was a photojournalist starting out in life, and I still do photography. I do a lot of fine arts.
Oh, okay.
She did spirit art for me. Now I want to talk about that a little bit because I know it's kind of like not your comfort zone entirely, but I got to tell you, when I first met Crystal, she was kind of not very confident. Let's just put it that way. Not very confident. But honestly, in the last year, or however long it's been since I met you, I feel like I've seen a shift. I mean, I feel like there are people who say, well, I don't know if I really have it, or I just kind of, you know what I mean? And you seem to be like really coming into it. And you did this spirit art, which thank you, by the way, for that. And I've talked to you several times that I never think she sent it to me, and I have it at home. It's just, really cool. Because I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could draw to do that. It's like automatic writing. People do it. I don't know that I would be able to do that because I think my head would get in the way of, am I drawing the nose right? Do you know what I mean?
It's exactly like automatic writing. And that's kind of the problem I'm having with it because I am a fine artist. I paint too. So I'm really detailed oriented when I'm painting. I'll have to show you some of my work sometime. And that's kind of the problem is because with these spirit art drawings, you have to be really quick, right? And so to get that kind of detail, it's just not working. I've been using oil crayon, which isn't working. I tried colored pencil. That doesn't work. I saw Cindy Kaza. She does spirit art as well. And she's using, it looks like chalk on, it looks like black paper. like black mat board or something. So I'm going to try that next to see if that'll work better for me.
That's interesting. I mean, I know that she does automatic writing. I didn't realize that she did spirit art also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I know when I saw, we're going to see Joe Shield. Joe Shield does spirit art, and when I have seen him do that before, I think he just used magic markers. It was crazy, like this big board with magic markers, and it was like he was getting people, spirits from within the room connected to everybody. And so it was a face and a face and a face and a face. And it was just all these faces. It was just incredible.
His work is very interesting too. It's more like character drawing almost.
Yeah, true. That's right. Joe. Saying, yeah, Joe. Yeah, it's really fascinating, really. We're going to see him. He's going to be here in, when is that, June or something? I don't even remember.
May or June? I'm not
May
sure.
or June, he's coming, and he's with somebody else, and they're going to be doing, mediumship but spirit art. He's going to be doing the spirit art, which should be fascinating.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's the paranormal world that I'm really drawn to these days is spirit work.
No pun intended. You're drawn to it,
Yeah. Exactly.
He said, I told you, you can't keep him to his word. I told you.
I know.
Congratulations, sir. You're 41 minutes into the show. I congratulate you.
Right.
It just went right over my head too. Like, Scott, we call those bad dad jokes.
My son tells me that I'm cringe and that I need to stay off of dadjokes.com. That was the latest thing. Drop at dadjokes.com. Not whatever. But you're drawn to that, the spirit artwork.
Yeah. I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Sorry, I know. I have that effect on people.
Yeah, I'm more drawn to working with spirit and spirit art and just that section, I guess, of the paranormal world. And I'm kind of pulling more away from actual investigating with, like paranormal investigators and all that stuff. And it's because it seems like I love those groups and everything, but when you work with them, they're all about proving if there is an afterlife, right? Or proving if there's a ghost or whatever it may be. For me, I know it exists.
Proof. It's there. They want the concrete proof. We want to capture it on a camera or a recorder.
We want to show it to the world. We want to show it to the skeptics. Say, when they don't believe it or whatever. Well, here's what I have. How can you explain that?
Exactly.
That's what we want to do. Yes.
I want to be able to work with people who are, maybe lost somebody or, there is such a thing as helping spirits kind of wake up so that they can move on from a place. I've been involved in stuff like that before.
Like crossing over kind of thing?
Yeah, well, not so much. I don't know if you cross them over exactly, but it's more so, I don't want to say they're stuck because they're not, but they're like in this state where they think that they're trapped, I guess. I'll use that for use of terminology, but I feel like if you just wake that spirit up and make them realize, hey, you don't have to stay here. You can move on. So just stuff like that.
Stuff like that. I want to ask you too, because we're getting down to, just not that long left in the show. We didn't even talk about your books. How did that come about?
Oh, so Dancing with Demons has been a long time coming. I've tried to write this book for a long time, and it's about what we talked about earlier with the negative entities and attachments and things like that. I went through a haunting about 10 years ago that was really bad back in Nashville. I've gotten scratched by that place. I swear I'd gotten cancer from that negative energy that was in that house. Ultimately, I had to move out and everything calmed down and went back to normal. And it seems like every time I try to tell this story, something bad starts to happen. I've lost jobs. I've just anything you can think of would happen. I've been through a really big tornado the last time I tried to put this out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just different stuff. So I'm going to try to put it back out, but it's not really about demons and negative energy. It isn't, but it isn't. It's more about how we draw that energy to us and how to fix our lives basically if we find ourselves in that kind of a situation, because you don't always have to be a victim to demonic entities and negative attachments and whatever it may be, you know.
So
That's
is
what
this
that's
much
about.
less a novel? As I mean, is there a story or is it more of a
It's more of a biography, I guess. It's
biography?
about,
Okay.
yeah, it's about what happened when living in this house,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
things that happened to me. Um, I talk about how it kind of escalated to what it did. And then I'm going to talk about, or I talk about what I believe really happened looking back, and, what to do if you find yourself in that situation.
Now, is it in production now? Is that
Yes.
you are
Yes.
done with it? I mean, it's just waiting
Right.
for it to be published.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, your first book, what is that? Is that more of a novel?
That's a novel.
Yeah.
So that one is, I spent a lot of time in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So back when Katrina happened, I was working for AP and I was covering some of the cleanup efforts that were going on in the city. So I would go maybe every 2 weeks and stay 3 weeks at a time, sometimes back and forth, and just document with FEMA and other people stuff that was going on. And one of the things I found was all the different legends of New Orleans, that area around there. And so I kind of taken those legends and made a conglomerate of all of it into one piece and made a novel out of it. So that's what that is.
Did you
It's
live
really
in New
interesting.
Orleans?
Yes and no. So when I worked, it kind of felt like it
Mm-hmm.
because I was there so often. It was like a second home for me.
I've never investigated there, but I've been there. Have you been to New Orleans, Julie?
I have not. No,
It's
no.
really an incredible city.
Yeah,
The
that place is amazing.
Yeah,
Oh.
I do want to get there, but I know this is going to sound strange, but because I'm an empath, I know that there's a lot of very dark stuff in New Orleans. So that's why I've never really made my way there, because I'm a little bit leery about what I'll feel when I'm in New Orleans. I mean, I know, there are places I've been that the energy has been absolutely incredible, like Gettysburg. Gettysburg just threw me for a loop. I mean, that place is just amazing. The energy on the soil itself. So I sort of, New Orleans almost scares me a little bit with the different, the different curses and things like that. I mean,
It's an
um,
interesting city, and you're right. It feels heavy as soon as you cross. There's a huge bridge that crosses over Lake Pontchartrain. Once you get across that bridge, you feel it. It's a heavy energy.
right.
Right after Katrina, though, it was 10 times worse. The energy there was just so strange.
I was there well before Katrina. It was a long time ago, and I at the time I wasn't picking up on any of that stuff. I wasn't there for that,
And you weren't open at that point to it.
I wasn't open to it.
Right.
If I'm looking for it, I almost have to be looking for it to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a difference, because at that point you were still closed off to everything like
Very
that.
much so, very much so. But the restaurants I ate in, some of them, they're places that like the oldest bar in, I don't know if it's the United States or whatever, but it's incredible really to think the age of some of these buildings, and
And the history. Yeah.
the history is just unbelievable. But it's a different kind of history.
Mhm.
All that voodoo and all that kind of stuff. I really think I need to go back.
You
If
definitely
nothing
need to
else,
go
we
back.
can eat beignets and have good coffee. I
Send me a
mean,
postcard.
yeah, send me a postcard.
Savannah
Where's
was a little, Savannah was a little heavy for me, honestly. But it was okay. It was very manageable. I could manage Savannah. But yeah, I'm not sure about, I think if I had the opportunity, I would go
Hmm.
just to feel it out, see what it is. I think I would go for like a weekend, something like that, knowing I can put up my shields. 48 hours, I'm on a plane.
Can you shut it off?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like if you're there, can you just say, okay, I'm not liking what I'm feeling. Shut it down, go to dinner, go sightseeing or shopping or whatever you want to see.
Because I grew up with it, I can.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been like this since I can remember. So I had to learn how to shut it off, or else I would have just spent my days, especially as a teenager, in tears all the time.
Yeah.
So we all know how lovely teenage girls can be to each other. So
It's true. And others.
and others. True,
Yeah.
true. Yes.
So how can people find out about you? So they have the website, which we put at the bottom, clthomas.org. They can get your books there, or book. Right now, one of them is still in production.
Yeah, they can buy the book there. It's for sale there. Amazon has a sale right now, I think for $3. Pretty cheap.
Oh, okay.
But I'm on I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
They can find me there under CL Thomas.
Oh,
And I'm pretty
okay.
friendly. I'll talk to anybody just about.
Clearly, I'm evidence of that.
Apparently.
Anybody.
And Crystal, if they buy your book on your website, I bet they could get an autograph from you.
They could, yes.
There you go. So
See that?
for me, going to the author's website is the way to go.
And then you can have them autograph. I think that'd be great.
Absolutely. Yes.
That'd be great. So clthomas.org, you can get her books. Also, they can listen to your podcast there. Can they watch it there too? Or is it just audio? I can't remember now. Is it just audio on your website?
Some of them are just audio and some of them are video.
And
I'm kind of switching over to video slowly.
Yeah, now that you have the YouTube page. And you know, with something like this, you know, we use StreamYard. I can pull down just the audio recordings. I send that off to Google and Spotify and iHeartRadio and all these other places. And then the video just stays up here on YouTube and those kind of places. So they can watch or listen if they're in the car. Should be great.
Pretty soon you'll be able to look at some of these remote ghost towns because I'm going to put some videos together for it.
That's
Ooh.
exciting. That is
I
very
really
exciting.
would love to go to a ghost town.
I would
Well,
too.
come on out here.
Okay. Okay.
No.
Let's do an event.
Okay.
She's in Las Vegas, Scott. You know I love a good slot machine.
She does. And we were going to Las Vegas a couple of years ago. Speaking of dancing with demons, Julie got knocked over by one and broke her shoulder. So
I was chasing an elemental across the USS Salem,
Mhm.
and it has the metal hatches, which are about a foot off the ground. And we were warned, and it just caught my toe, and I went into the steel hatch, fractured the shoulder. There went my trip to Las
I
Vegas.
went on a trip to Vegas. I went.
I
anyway.
went back on that ship. Everyone is saying, you know, my daughter's saying, don't go back there. I said, oh, of course, honey, I'm not going to go back there. And as soon as my arm was out of the sling and there was another one, I walked on board and someone had said, welcome back. And I said, I have a bone to pick with this ship.
Yeah, but you did all right. And it was just bad timing. And, you know, we've
Yes.
tried to take 2 trips, one to Vegas and one to
That's
Florida.
right. Florida. Yes.
Neither one of them worked out.
Well, you guys, I have an event coming up.
Oh,
So-
tell us about it.
Yeah, there's a opera house out here that's haunted. And it's the miners' cabin as well. It's at Death Valley Junction. It's called the Amargosa Hotel.
Mhm.
I'm renting that out for a first time ever ghost hunt.
Oh.
So, yeah.
All right, we're going to talk about
Details.
this because we only have about
Details.
45 seconds left. So I want you
When
to
is
give me the
this?
information quickly, and then we'll put it in underneath.
Okay, so it's the first time ever that they're opening the door to a paranormal investigation. I'm only allowing 15 people or less to come out to do this. It'll be, I think, a Friday or Saturday night, sometime in November or January. I haven't decided which yet, but cooler because it's hot there.
Mhm.
Okay.
But yeah, they're going to open the doors and let us investigate.
All right, we're going to get that information. Put it in the notes down below. In the meantime, Crystal, thank you so much for being on the show. We are ready to
Thank you,
close out. It's a wrap. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Thank
week,
Thank you guys.
and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
You have been listening to The Paranormal Project with Scott Allen and Julie Finn. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. While you're there, leave us a rating and review so others can find out about the show. Stay haunted and go out there and explore the paranormal.